Live from WTOC, the Southeast News leader. The News Now starts on WTOC Plus.
Thanks for joining us here for the news on WTOC Plus. We're hearing right now from SCDOT officials who are talking about their state preparations heading into this weekend's winter storm, which is set to bring or expected to bring snow to parts of both South Carolina and Georgia. Let's go ahead and listen in. This press conference just began moments ago.
Secretary, I'll turn it over to you, please.
All right. Thank you, Kelly. Good afternoon. My name is Justin Powell, Justin, Powell, Powell, and I'm the Secretary for the South Carolina Department of Transportation. I got several folks up here, Deputy Secretary for Engineering, Rob Perry, Chief Engineer for Operations, Andy Leapart, and then several folks from our Richland maintenance team that are working round the clock right now, getting storm. Will be responding afterwards. Charles Kraft, Steve Altman, Jody Britt, and Andy Rowe. So these folks will be up here. Hopefully we can answer all your questions that we have. So obviously we have begun operations, have been continuing operations from Winter Storm Fern. Those were starting to ramp down earlier this week, but we saw the forecast indicating that we are going to have potentially another round of winter weather from Winter Storm Gianna, starting Friday night, going in through Saturday and into Sunday. This is going to be a different storm. So Winter Storm Fern was something that we had to work for. It was forecast to be an ice event, predominantly in the upstate. What we are seeing is the forecast that we are seeing coming out of the National Weather Service and other forecasters is that this could be a significant snow event, particularly here in the Midlands, around the Charlotte metropolitan area, in the PD, as well as into the upstate. So it has the potential to be a statewide snow event that we will be ready to respond and be active in helping getting South Carolina moving again. So what we do anticipate is that travel conditions, if we do see that type of snow falling, would become dangerous and hazardous with those type of snow accumulations falling on our roadways, particularly if we see several inches of snow in those areas. So let me tell you what DOT is doing right now. Our crews are out right now pre-treating our primary routes, our interstates, and our bridges in anticipation of this storm. So you will see DOT trucks spraying brine on the roads right now and getting ready for this storm, which will help us keep the roads open as long as we possibly can, but also will help us clear the roads afterwards. Tomorrow we are prepared to go into 24-hour operations. And we will be in 24-hour operations through the duration of the event. What that means, we have 3,000 employees that are now will be going on to shift work and will be prepared to work through the duration of the storm. We have 1,200 pieces of equipment that are ready to go. And we've been spending the past several days getting our equipment ready, restocking our salt supplies, being ready to make the brine that is needed to go on the roadways to be ready to respond and ultimately recover from this event. So what I want the public to know is that we are ready for this event. We have been preparing for this event, but I think the public needs to be prepared that this could be a very significant event in terms of the amount of snowfall. So what we ask is as we see what actually falls on the ground from the forecast, the folks need to be patient. It will take us some time to clear the roadways to get South Carolina moving again. But, other important thing for us, we want to encourage folks to realize is that travel in snow and ice can be dangerous. It can be hazardous. Well, we encourage once the snow starts to fall, we encourage people to stay home and to avoid travel at all costs. But if they have to travel, travel with some common sense and caution. Drive slowly. Give adequate space between other vehicles and you. And, certainly be prepared for the possibility that you might get stuck in snow. So having a snow emergency kit, and there's a lot of resources out there from the state's emergency management division on how to be winter storm ready. But what I want everybody to be confident in knowing is that we are prepared. We are actively working to get ready for this storm. We will work through the duration of the storm, And when it is over, we will continue to work until the roads are reopened and cleared. With that, I'll open it up to questions from y'all.
Hi, are there any specific roadways in Richland County that people should be mindful of that might take the longest when it comes to this weather?
So let me just kind of talk about our order of not only how we pre-treat, but then when we actually start clearing the roadways. We'll be focused first on our interstates. So that'll be I-20, I-26, I-77. Those will be the first priority, and then we'll start moving into what we call our primary routes. So the US 1s, the US 378s, focusing on those first. The last of what we will treat will be those secondary roads, those neighborhood streets. So we focus on where the traffic is, but we focus on those highest priority routes first.
Secretary, we have some viewers from the low country and the PD region tuned in as well. Do you mind giving them some examples of those primary routes?
Sure, definitely in the Charleston area, the focus will be on I-26, I-526, the Ravenel Bridge, Highway 17. Those are going to be our priorities there. Similarly, in the Myrtle Beach metropolitan area, we're going to be focused on US 501, SC22, SC31, those kind of major east-west, north-south arteries in those communities.
We had few incidences here in the Midlands with particularly the on-ramps, off-ramps in this past storm this past weekend. Are you going to be paying any special attention to those?
You know, we'll be focusing first on getting the interstates open and then working on those off-ramps. So we're going to be focused on mainline traffic first. So what we encourage the public to do is to be very cautious when they're getting on and off the roadways. Recognize there will be snow and ice on the roadways, to be cautious and to safe. It's going to take us time to get things reopened across the state.
Hi, how much time do you think it'll take you to get the highways back open after the snow stops falling?
You know, if I could predict how much snow would fall, I would tell you I probably wouldn't be in the business that we're in right now. So what I would say is really will depend upon how much actually falls, where it falls, and the time it takes. So I would say is what we will be focused on is getting out there immediately, working through our priorities and addressing it. But until we actually see what falls on the ground, it's hard for us to say exact timelines.
And for plows, how many plows do you guys have, and how many inches of snow do you guys need to actually have to be able to plow snow off the roads?
I mean, we can plow if it's an inch or 5 inches on the roadways. We have about 1,200 pieces of equipment, and that's in plows, that's in spreaders, in terms of brine trucks. So we will be basically deploying every piece of equipment that we can put out to use. We'll be putting it out on the roadways. You know, even that motor grader out there might be put into service as well for us.
Do you have a threshold for canceling flights? You know, how much snow needs to fall before you start doing that?
So we don't have aviation, so I would have to defer to the airports.
When do you guys start spreading the brine?
So that started this morning, so we're already out there. So what I would encourage people is you're going to see our brine trucks, particularly on our interstates and on major highways across the state. You know, encourage you all to give space to them so you don't get sprayed in the process, but also allow us to do our operations safely and protect the employees. You know, we've got 3,000 employees that have been working round the clock for this one. Will be the third storm weekend that they've worked a storm. So they are working hard on behalf of the people of South Carolina.
And Sarah, are there any tips that you could give to viewers as far as how to prepare their vehicles, maybe while being on these roadways, if they do have to, you know, travel?
I mean, obviously, you know, check your fuel, check your tires, make sure that you have equipment for de-icing, a scraper, things like that. One thing I would encourage folks to do is we have our 511 SC app. You can find that on the Google as well as the Apple stores. That gives you real-time traffic information on what's going on across the state. It also has the traffic cameras, so you can rely upon that and have a lot of information at your hands.
Secretary, from ABC 15, can you speak a little bit to how SCDOT makes the decision to close roads in a winter storm event?
You know, it's going to be based on what's actually on the ground at that point in time. What we're going to be focused on is trying to maintain those major routes as long as we possibly can.
And now, what are you guys doing to keep yourself safe while you guys are out there doing that work?
You know, we do a safety talk every time we get our folks out there. We're making sure that they have the right equipment, making sure that Folks have been trained. This is not the first rodeo for these operators in terms of being out in winter weather. These folks are professionals and been able to go through this before. And so, but what I would encourage though is the public to make sure if you see a plow out on the road, if you see a brine truck out on the road, give us space. Let us have the room to do the work that we need to do to get the traveling public safe and secure for themselves.
Biggest difference in preparation from last week to this week, talking ice to snow, what would be the biggest difference?
So I think the biggest difference, obviously, we were doing a lot of the same paces that we did on this event in terms of pre-treating the roads, having folks ready to go. I think the bigger concern we had during the last event was the possibility of trees and debris falling on the roadways. So we had made preparations for that. With this being more of a snow event, we think that it's more of getting the accumulation off the road is going to be the biggest challenge.
Any more advice that you could give those drivers out there not used to these conditions?
Well, I think it's kind of two things. One, be safe, be smart, be able to give distance, be able to recognize your braking is going to be slower and that you need more distance to do it, that you may slide in that process. But at the end of the day, staying off the roads is probably the best advice I can give folks when it really starts coming down in terms of snow.
Once a road has been treated, approximately how long is it considered, working the brine? I mean, this is a slow-moving storm. Are roads going to have to be retreated, or?
I would anticipate that we're going to be making multiple passes in terms of applying multiple layers of brine through things. Again, it's going to depend on what actually falls, but what we will do is we'll keep at it, again, working our priority of the interstates, primary routes, and then getting into the secondary system from there.
One last question from the live stream is how we work together with SCDOT with local governments during a storm?
Sure. So, no, we take a lot of pride in South Carolina being Team South Carolina, so we work closely with our partners at the Highway Patrol, National Guard. All of us are going to have Emergency Management Division, all have a role and a part to play in it. We have relationships and agreements with local governments, so oftentimes they will step up and assist us and vice versa in terms of sharing brine and supplies, but also plowing roads together.
What would be the biggest operational challenge here in South Carolina to prepare for these weather events?
I mean, I think it's, we're in South Carolina, folks come here for the weather, not necessarily for snow and ice. But so, it's not something we deal with normally. We do have the infrastructure to deal with it, but we're not Buffalo, New York in terms of what we have to deal. So we'll be ready to deal with it. Our folks are experienced and prepared, but know that it's going to take a snowfall potentially in the multiple inches, 6-7 inches is going to take us a little bit of time to work through.
So the brine and the salt can be kind of hard on the roads, as we know, and it's important though to have it there to make sure that we can all drive on them. But with so many multiple storms back to back, are you worried about the condition or the impact that this will have on the roads?
I think my biggest concern is making sure that the people of South Carolina are safe, and so I will apply what we need to do to make sure that the traveling public is safe.
Okay, I think that's all the questions I've got from the live stream, and are we closed out here? All right, thank you very much.
All right, thank y'all. Appreciate y'all coming out.
Ask you how snow's made.
Yeah. Look, appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, you just heard from officials with the South Carolina Department of Transportation talking about the incoming winter storm expected to hit parts of the southeast, including the coastal empire and low country. There is certainly a potential for snow. It increases as you go north of I-16. It's something our meteorologists have been tracking. Saturday looks like the potentially snowy day here in Georgia and South Carolina. And, during that briefing, we heard just a handful of things from SCDOT officials talking about how they're, preparing for the incoming potential for snow. Really, the whole press conference boiled down to two things. Number one, be prepared. Make sure you've got things in your home. Make sure you've got things in your car. If you do end up being snowed in or aren't able to hit the roads, just always plan ahead. Make sure you've got whatever you may need to keep you and your family safe during a severe winter storm potentially. And number two, just be careful when driving, or don't drive at all, is what one of the things the SCDOT officials said. Again, we do expect, the snow could stick around, potentially, since temperatures are going to stay cold on Sunday, which certainly creates the increased risk for potential ice on the roads and dangerous driving conditions. If you do have to hit the roads, drive slowly, increase your braking distance, don't tailgate anybody. Things like that, just, be extra careful if we do end up seeing snow, which, again, is looking very probable, essentially, especially, again, north of I-16, Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening. So that's something our meteorologists are continuing to track. We are going to have extended coverage throughout the day on Saturday right here on WTOC Plus as we follow this winter storm. And you can always check the WTOC website and the WTOC weather app for the latest as well. Well, before we sign off here on WTOC Plus, we do have a story we wanted to tell you about. Turning to the crime watch, a Bluffton man has been sentenced to 12 years in prison for distributing fentanyl on Hilton Head Island. Here's what we know. 46-year-old Denardus Quaviel Mitchell was found guilty Tuesday of distribution of fentanyl. That's according to the 14th Circuit Solicitor's Office. The conviction stems from a controlled drug purchase back in November 2020, when an informant working with the Beaufort County Sheriff's Office arranged to buy drugs for Mitchell. Officials say the purchase was made with $300 in pre-marked bills. Now, the informant entered Mitchell's vehicle and exchanged cash for a white powder in a baggie that was sold as heroin. However, analysts in the sheriff's office lab determined the substance was actually fentanyl. Mitchell's criminal history dates back to 2000 and includes convictions for conspiracy, possession with intent to distribute crack, possession with intent to distribute cocaine, and 3 instances of driving under suspension. And with that, we are going to conclude our coverage here on WTOC Plus. We will be back in just about 40 minutes for Welcome to Our Community with Dawn Baker at 3 o'clock. Until then, we'd like to thank you all for watching, and here's Local News Live.